Good morning and welcome to Funky Rainbow. It's really been a long time, since we've done a bazaar. Just lots and lots of work coming up on all weekends, and we've been busy with schools. I mean, doing author events and literary fests in schools. I was away in Frankfurt, and just a lot of stuff, bookish stuff going on in the world of Funky Rainbow. But it's just lovely to see that some of our friends, the ever faithfuls and great supporters of Funky Rainbow, Book Pickle and Arunji, and a whole host of you, watching us live on Facebook and Instagram. I can see Arun saying, when are you sharing your trip experiences? So that was the bazaar that we wanted to start off with. But I'm going to make a series of announcements at the moment, and then you'll know that probably one of the episodes going forward will be about the wonderful experience at the Frankfurt Book Fair, and this absolutely great trip discovering wonderful independent bookstores all across Germany. I will definitely share those with you. I mean, who else? I can't wait, to tell you about all the fun and all the learnings from that trip. But before we start off, the reason we, kind of put this bazaar together today is because you all know it is International Day of Persons with Disability. And it is just such an important day for all of us at Funky Rainbow, especially Mutama, who I can see has logged in and saying congratulations on the inauguration of the studio. Mutama is a disability rights activist and worked for many years, in the field, bringing to Funky Rainbow the sensibility of inclusion, of diversity in such wonderful ways. So, we are honored that we, have a guest who was able to join us, who's going to be joining us and going to be joining us live later in the day today, and that is Mr. Vikram Agnihotri. I can't tell you, Mutama and I were with him at a school yesterday, and what an inspiring and motivational personality he is. I mean, the spirit of resilience and positivity has just spilt over into the entire team at FR. So Vikram will, of course, join us later in the show. Joanne Saldana, you're saying you're there, you're driving, but still listening in. What champs you are. And you know what you're doing, Joanne? It's just fabulous, because the thing that Vikram Agnihotri likes to do most of all, is to drive race cars. So you're doing just absolutely the right thing, listening to him while you're driving. He'll be delighted to know that when he joins us a little later today. And Arun, you're suggesting that we do the Frankfurt edit on a second Saturday. Absolutely, we'll take your suggestion on that. My mother's a teacher, and I know that the second and fourth Saturdays are perhaps more free than the other ones. So I'm also, going to say that we are doing the bazaar from a wonderful new studio space. I mean, you can see that the background, behind is not the Funky Rainbow background, but Sham has set up this wonderful studio, and we wish Sham and Anam the very best for this studio, which is a space where you can record, your podcasts, you can do live sessions. It's an entirely set up studio to do various things that are required, for social media, for filming, and for any kind of promotional activity. So you should be in touch with them. And we are delighted, of course, fully taking claim to the studio. And, the first event that we're doing here is this wonderful bazaar on disabling differences, featuring Mr. Vikram Agnihotri, who will join us a little later in the show today. So that was another announcement. And going forward, we are, really hoping that we can do a whole host of exciting things. I mean, I'm dreaming of that red couch, and of that wonderful red couch that's going to be put up here, and where, I have a table with an entire table for my books, and I'm not jostling with different things. I must say, we're jostling a lot lesser here than we were at Funky Rainbow's office. But really looking forward to doing wonderful things with the studio. And for all all of you watching, if there's any studio related work, you must be in touch with Sham to get it done here. There's just a mind-boggling array of equipment, none of which I can describe at the moment, because I don't have the words to describe this equipment. But yes, and when you visit, please do come and visit us at Funky Rainbow and the studio as well. I'm also going to make another announcement. It's a very motivational kind of Saturday, but it's also a wistful one for us, because I want to dedicate this bazaar to Sham's brother, Kabir Das Madhavan, whom we lost, a week, 10 days ago, really unfortunately. The reason we want to dedicate this bazaar to him was he has perhaps, and he was perhaps, the biggest supporter of big dreams of all kinds. You just had to, put out that thought to him. And I'm sure Sham will be able to say so much more. But I do know from the 25 years of knowing him that all you had to say was that we have this dream. And, he was such a big, like cheering us from the sidelines, to say, come on, go chase your dreams. 25 years hence, I mean, we've been chasing dreams for 25, 30 years now. And I think we live these dreams because of supporters like Kabir Das Madhavan. And I would really like to dedicate this bazaar, and I think a lot of other newer initiatives that we plan to come up with, to this wonderful personality in our lives. And I'm sure, and I want to assure Sham and his family that, yes, that spirit never dies. It lives on forever. He's putting up a picture of Kabir, and Sham, lots and lots of condolences going out to you. Ritvika Roy, what a pleasure to see you here this morning. I've heard so much about your exciting, meetings with Payal, a lovely friend Payal, and we're hoping you'll be here at the studio one day, doing a bazaar session with us. Condolences from Arun, and from Ritvika as well. But really, I say this, I'm so glad that we've made this new start taking Kabir's name, because I think that's the best way to keep these wonderful memories and the undying support for big ideas that we always got from him. Condolences from Book Pickle too. And so, we are really celebrating that wonderful spirit today. And of course, our guest who joins us later in the show, that very spirit is what he embodies. I mean, he's a man of just outstanding resilience and positivity. Someone who, all through yesterday, the sessions at schools, you couldn't but help look at him amazed, wondering, gosh, how does this man keep going, and how does he keep going the way he does, with enthusiasm, with with a never say die attitude, and with the kind of positivity that's really infectious. So it is absolutely our pleasure and honor to be hosting him later in the show today. I can see so many other comments. Shiraz, so lovely of you to join us. You're sending us your condolences, and I'm really saying that we feel this more than ever. 2.5, 3 years of running the bazaar at the moment, still all of you watching us live either on Facebook or on Instagram and cheering us from the sidelines. That's precisely the spirit that Sham's brother embodies for all of us. And I'm going to get started, even if I have been a little bit emotional, going to get started with the recommendations of books. The theme is, of course, disabling differences. And I think that's exactly what we need to do, right? All of us, every single one of us that has it in our power and in our capacity to build a more equitable world. It just takes small steps, nothing big, nothing that is insurmountable, nothing that takes away from your life or time in any way. I think it's absolutely essential that each and every one of us do these things to make our world more equitable. And that's why we've called our bazaar disabling differences. It's in celebration of the fact that people of different abilities share this world with us, and they make our world so much more beautiful. I mean, the diversity, and I'm delighted that we do have books in the Indian children's context, to showcase people of different abilities for the youngest of readers. Ritvika, you're saying, I'd love to do that. That's a dream. We will make it come true. Just land up in Bangalore. Shiraz, you're saying you're hoping to meet us when we come to Chandigarh at Vivek High School. Awesome. I didn't know that, you are in Chandigarh. Somehow I thought you were based in Delhi, but we're utterly and absolutely looking forward to seeing you at Chandigarh when we're there later this month. Ritvika saying, I've been leaving the FR website link at a lot of academic events in the last month. I can't think of a better bookstore to send out Indian Kidlit to the rest of the world. Woohoo! This is exactly the kind of support that we need. And it was just lovely to see, even in Germany, the kind of fantastic response we got to the fact that we focus almost entirely on children's books from our country. So with that, I'm going to start off on my recommendations, and we will wait for Vikram to join us. And once he comes in, I think there's just a lot of interesting things that he has to talk about. So as always, I mean, I could recommend books forever and ever, but we will just listen to Vikram once he comes in. I too share with anyone looking for books and suggestions. My God, you guys are such troopers for all of us at Funky Rainbow. So my first recommendation, and for old watchers of the Bazaar, and I don't mean old at heart watchers of the Bazaar, but people who've been watching us from the first year, that we did one on disability many years ago, calling in an excellent guest, Meenu Bhambani, to talk with us about making the corporate world a more inclusive space, essentially. And she had some fantastic suggestions on what each one of us could do to do that in our own worlds. So the books that we recommended then, I have tried to not do those ones precisely, picking newer and exciting the newer exciting ones that have landed in our collection in the last 2 years. Now, the first one that I'm going to show to you is this excellent book called Playing, written by Sunaina Ali and illustrated by Debasmita Das Gupta. What a sweet, sweet little picture book this is. I mean, it's about a little girl called Aisha. And when the story begins, you're wondering, and you're just looking at these lovely pictures by Debasmita Das Gupta, you're wondering what Aisha does with her friends. Now, does she run? Does she laugh? Does she play? Let's just go on and find out what she does right through the day. And you can see it's a simplest picture book with just very little text and bright, colorful illustrations. And as you kind of go forward and read the book, there are just little things about Aisha's personality, about her physical structure that reveal itself to you. So the thing is, it's just absolutely such a delightful book that focuses on exactly what a little girl wants to do across the day. But how does the angle of disability come into it? You have to pick up the book to find out. That if I'm recommending it, it's certainly in the book. So subconscious to the whole story itself. It's such a lovely book. It's meant for our youngest readers. I showed them to you, and I would say absolutely works 3 plus as well, even younger readers if they'd like to look at the pictures. The second recommendation this morning is this beautiful book from Pratham, and I've been really reading a whole host of interviews by the author of the book. I mean, there are lots of podcasts, and there's lots of video interviews with Salil Chaturvedi, who's done this excellent book called My Brother's Wheelchair, right? So you already know, what a fun title to the book, really. What a great start. Even before you open the pages, it's about the fun that this pair of siblings that you see on the cover are going to have, even if one of them is on a wheelchair. So beautifully illustrated by Tanvi Bhatt. I mean, this is, you can just see the first spread. It's just a wee. What would you do, really, right? So there's Durva and Dhrubo. They are sister and brother. And there's Dhrubo's wheelchair, who's also a very, very good friend of the pair of siblings. Now, what do? They explore parks, they go to markets, they go on all sorts of adventures with the wheelchair. And what happens? Is it possible? Is it possible for the siblings to go everywhere and on all kinds of adventures? Happily, yes, because Dhrubo is a really clever chap, and so is Durva. And if there are obstacles in their path, the two of them always seem to know what to do. It's a beautiful book. It's not just a story of the siblings. In wonderful ways, Salil Chaturvedi brings in what we need for our public spaces. Like, if there's a wheelchair, do we have a ramp? I remember when we took up our office at Funky Rainbow, that's one of the things that Mutama was always bothered about. She was like, are we on the ground floor? Is there a ramp? Because there are going to be people of different abilities visiting us, and we've got to make sure that our space is accessible. This one brings those elements in so beautifully, just so beautifully tucked away into this beautiful story. And I think it's a great read. Children 4 plus, 5 plus, I mean, these age groups, I always keep maintaining very, very, I mean, it's very, very fluid. So you can read the books with your kids, you can get them to read it themselves, and you will know, whether it's working or not. My next recommendation is an old favorite, and Neil on Wheels, one of the earliest picture books that came out on the theme of a boy on a wheelchair. This one put together by Duckbill, and it was the winner at the Children First writing competition organized by Parag and initiative of Tata Trust and Duckbill. Now, Neil on Wheels by Lavanya Karthik and illustrated by Habib Ali is again, I mean, we just love the fact that writers, use their imagination so well. A writer like Lavanya Karthik, using her imagination beautifully to make a wheelchair just a part of our everyday lives. So it's about Neil, about the protagonist of the story has a big brother called Neil, and Neil has wheels. Now, what kind of wheels, and how cool does that sound? Neil has wheels. Like, all of us want it, really, when you've read the book. And what do those wheels do? Well, the wheelchair transforms itself to fight monsters and dragons that appear under the bed every night or on the wall every night. And look at that. Look at the fun that the siblings have, with Neil's wheelchair. I mean, it is that, that agency for the children that the wheelchair gives them is just fabulous, the way this wonderful picture book has been, created for our youngest readers. I would say 5 plus again, and really even older, all of us adults reading it and enjoying it thoroughly. Ritvika, you say I really liked "I Don't Understand" by Mini Srinivasan with illustrations by Shubham Lakhera and published by Tulika. That's right. I mean, of a child with Down syndrome, and Mini. I remember talking at the Good Books Awards. About how she researched that book and wrote it. We have it on our collection, not up in the recommendation list today, but all up in our bazaar of books on disability. I would, of course, say go right ahead and click on our website, www.funkyrainbow.com. And for some of our friends on Instagram who are watching us for the first time, you can, click on our website, order these books, and we ship them across the country. But our website has just had some malware attack in the last couple of days and in the process of getting fixed. So I'm afraid maybe just 1 or 2 more days before it's up and running. But Ritvika, you can check that bazaar on disability. For those of you who are watching for the first time, go to www.funkyrainbow.com, click on the tab that says Book Bazaar, and there'll be a drop down menu that says Season 1, Season 2, Season 3. Go to Season 5 and go to the link that says Disability. We recommend 8-10 books in the course of this show, but there's at least 50-60 books in every one of the bazaars, and the whole idea of categorizing them is so it's easy to find for any and every reading requirement. In the same vein as Neil on Wheels is this beautiful picture book, from Tulika called Wings to Fly, written by Soumya Rajendran. And this time, the story is about a real life person, Malti Holla. And, illustrated by Arun Kaushik. Soumya really has an effervescent way of, writing the stories of, in this case, of little Malti in her childhood. I mean, what does Malti want to do? Malti is. Uh, s- Sorry, did you want me to stop? Sham? I can continue, is it? Okay. Okay, all right. I mean, I heard, Sham's computer kind of beep, and I was wondering if there's a glitch, but he says I can continue. So I will tell you about Wings to Fly by Soumya Rajendran. And, it begins with little Malti wanting to, like many little children, to run after hens and chicks and, pluck the ripe mangoes that are on the trees. But can Malti do all of these? Can she? Well, you can see from the cover, and you can see that illustration on the cover as well as on the back cover. Can she do it? Malti is on a wheelchair. Do you think it's possible for someone on a wheelchair to run after chicks, to chase after, hens, and to climb up a tree and pluck the ripe mangoes? Well, as she grows up, Malti absolutely demonstrates the kind of resilience that people have, of overcoming all the odds to achieve exactly what she wanted to do, exactly what she set out to do. And it's just remarkable, this life of a disabled athlete. We all know Malti Holla went on to win medals at the Paralympics, for people with disabilities, and what a champion she is. But in the writing of the story, it's just great how Soumya, talks and depicts childhood, which I'm sure was very, very tough on the young girl, but yet, meeting up with friends, I mean, doing the kind of fun things that young kids get together and do, whether it's in her own place or when she travels on vacation. I mean, there's a certain determination that Malti Holla had right from the time that she was born that just sparkles through this narrative of her childhood. And of course, we all know that her soaring spirit was absolutely, that soaring spirit helped her win, I mean, break so many barriers and win the medals at the Paralympic Games. So that's again just a wonderful story. We'd again say 5+ year olds, but I think, the world is such these days that it's quite all right to introduce children to books, on various themes early enough. I mean, we really feel that kids are quite sensitive. They see a lot, in the world around them, and they are absolutely ready to absorb many things that as adults we feel we're not sure they can really do. I mean, I just have absolutely seen now, in the last 6 7 years working with kids, being at schools, the kind of tough questions when we were with Vikram at school yesterday, as well. I mean, the kind of insightful questions that came, that he was asked, and we were we did sessions for children across multiple grades, but the youngest of them were third standard children, so as young as 7 8 year olds, who absolutely sort of chatting with him just like a good buddy, like he's a good buddy, bringing so much humor into the situation, and asking such wonderfully insightful questions. So, of course, I get on with a clutch of more recommendations for you. There is, of course, Lavanya Karthik clearly has her heart in portraying, protagonists with different kinds of abilities. And her, other book that we have here today, When Adil Speaks, Words Dance, is again, such a beautiful testimony to how some conversations don't really need words. I mean, it's kind of ironic coming from the mouth of a chatterbox, but really, one needs to read this book, When Adil Speaks, Words Dance, to understand, why many conversations don't really need words. So the protagonist of the book is hearing impaired, and there's a lovely, lovely section. And of course, as a young reader reads the book, it's not even something that comes into focus in the story, as in it's not something that's deliberately been stated, because as this Adil is a really popular kid, everybody wants to be friends with Adil. And you can see in these illustrations, there's no one quite like Adil. And I love this description that she has, and the illustrations, which are also Lavanya's. Adil, he runs like the wind, he swims like a fish, he can climb the tallest trees. My God, what a super boy he really is, this Adil. No wonder that everybody in class wants to be friends with him. Now, how do you start a conversation with someone when they can't hear what you are saying? Such a beautiful book on learning the sign language. I mean, there's a small segment, section at the end on the Indian sign language, and how we can, each one of us, I mean, it's not that difficult really, right, to learn some of these gestures and to learn some of these symbols ourselves. This is just such a wonderfully heartwarming tale of empathy, inclusivity, and really ultimately the surprise, the wonderful power of friendship, that all, each and every one of us cherish. So as you can see, like lovely, lovely picture books for children of all ages. And we really say that, it's not necessary to limit these books only to young readers. Older readers too can gain a lot through, reading these picture books. Every single adult most definitely can. I get on to my next. Oh, let me just say hello. I've completely forgotten the format of the bazaar myself. Let me quickly just say hello to all the friends who've joined us. I mean, it's always, always wonderful to see so many of you come in. And I know we just sprung this bazaar on you without any announcements, without any pre preparations, because we had this wonderful opportunity to host Vikram live at Funky Rainbow for the bazaar, on disabling differences, and we said we just have to go ahead and take the chance. Coincidentally, this beautiful studio that was ready as well, and here we are doing the bazaar for you despite the late announcements. I can see so many of you are in here. There's Arunji, there's Book Pickle, there's Zikra, Joanne Saldana, Aparna, Anam Fatima, Ritvika Roy, Shiraz Seni, Maya Ashwini, Vicky, Deepzi, Vinita Stories, Tejasvi Reddy, Shantanu. I am Adai. She's joining us all the way from Kyrgyzstan. She was a friend that I met in Germany and runs this wonderful independent bookstore all the way in Kyrgyzstan. In fact, she corrected us when we said Kyrgyzstan. She said, don't use the pronunciations that the Russians use. They don't know how to spell the name. Kyrgyzstan is what she called it. Adai, I am just so thrilled that you're watching us live at the bazaar today. Vinod, Jeeta, Kahani Tree, so lovely, Sangita, to have you here joining us at the bazaar. Can't even tell you what a pleasure it is. And Nandini Nair, I know there are 100 emails due from me, and yet you're watching us here this morning. Absolutely thankful for the support. She's one of the writers we are taking with us to the school in Chandigarh later this month, and she's eagerly waiting for mails from us to tell her what she's going to be doing there. But you're going to have to wait till this weekend passes, Nandini, before I write to all of you. House full of books. Rupa Baliga, a big, big shout out always going out to you. We love your blog. I have to say, I've met so many people in the last week, all of whom refer to your blog on reviewing Indian children's books. And I think it's just wonderful work that you're doing. I mean, I'm so proud and so delighted that you're a Funky Rainbow parent and you've taken the word of Indian children's books so far and wide, where we may not have been able to go ourselves at all. What a pleasure that you're watching us. I know you did a really insightful review of Lukma No Hands by Vikram Agnihotri, and I'm so glad that you're here to watch the conversation with him that will come up just in another 15 minutes. Mitali Fagiwal, thank you so much for all of you for watching us here at the bazaar. My colleague just putting down another name, Anirudh. Such a pleasure that you've joined us, at the bazaar this morning. For newer people who are watching us, this is a show that we used to run every Saturday across 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, introducing contemporary Indian children's books to parents, teachers, librarians, and Entu Cutlet Bachas who also watch us yammering on for an hour or an hour and a half every Saturday. It's just that things have absolutely opened up now, and we are at various schools working live with kids, which we utterly and absolutely love. But sure, our heart is in the bazaar. It's taken our name far and wide, and we're so glad that you're all watching. For those of you watching for the first time, we also have a website, www.funkyrainbow.com. Do check out our curated collection of Indian children's books on the site. We ship across the country. We also recommend books for any and every reading requirement. So the next clutch of books that I want to recommend, Kanna Panna by a favorite writer at Funky Rainbow, Zai Whitaker, illustrated by Nilofer Vadia. And I just love the onomatopic nature of the title itself of the book, Kanna Panna. There's just something, we know the story is set in Tamil Nadu. It takes us to the caves of Mahabalipuram. And there's just something so rhythmic and beautiful about the title. Because I know Tamil and it's my mother tongue, the beauty of the words, of the language, of the Tamil language, simply just coming up in the title itself. Shiraz, I see you've put up a question. How much is When Adil Speaks? Please share. I missed it. Well, it's priced at a 199 rupees, Shiraz. And usually we have links coming up from our website to every book that we feature on the Bazaar. But because the site is down, we're not able to put those links up just now. I think, we're keeping fingers crossed and hoping that by Monday the site will be up and running. Sham's been chasing those guys big time and, really getting on their case, but you know how it is. But it's a 199 rupees and a really wonderful book, Shiraz, by one of India's most exciting writers and illustrators for children, Lavanya Karthik. But to come back to Kanapana, now, when the story opens, young Kanna, is just, you can see his family, and, they are each one of them telling him what he needs to do. And he quietly listens to everything. I mean, his appa is telling him, you need to look up, put your head up. And Kanna raises his head up. And then his amma, who says, you need to wear these clothes. And Kanna goes and wears those clothes, but he hardly ever speaks and says anything. Although, as the reader, when you're reading the story, you know that words are just absolutely ruling in his head. You know it. The world at large, doesn't think that Kanna speaks much, because when Amma talks to her younger sister, they're both wondering, why is this child so quiet? How come he is so quiet? But we know as readers, and that's the lovely charm of Zai Whittaker's writing, that there's just so many words rattling around in Kanna's head. And what happens, I mean, one day, when the lights go off at home, is everybody very, very afraid? Yes, it gets quite dark, but not Kanna. And then what happens? What happens when the family decides to visit the caves of Mahabalipuram? What does Kanna do? What does that quiet child do that absolutely, overturns our notions of disability in such wonderful ways? This is just a warm, gentle, sensitive picture book about a little boy. And, of course, I could give it away. Of course, I could say, what Kanna's disability is. And, I was telling you about the onomatopic nature of the title, Kanapana. In Tamil, when we say Kanapana, it means like somebody who just talks non-stop. So it's so ironic that that's the title of a book, of that features a boy who's very, very quiet. And I'm not going to give away, for those of you who haven't read it, what Kanna's disability is. But is that really a disability? We need to read the book to find out. And, we need to think, who has the ability and who has the disability, once we see what Kanna does, when his family is, and the lights go off inside the cave temples of, not the temples, the caves of Mahabalipuram. Sunila Kulkarni Gupte, hello, and so lovely to to have you here at the Bazaar. It's great to be back, although the less hectic and more wonderful time in Germany, I just hanker for it right now, because life has just been so very, very hectic once I've come back from that trip. Archana Atri, such a wonderful morning every time that you pop up at the Bazaar, and I know you always have. I'm so sorry we couldn't meet when you came. I just came back from Germany, and I don't know. I mean, wasn't ill for a single day here. Got the Delhi belly here, even if I didn't visit, Delhi at all, and couldn't come by to see you. But I'm so glad that Muttama met up with you when you were here. And you were saying, a nerd asked me, why are the parents so mean to Kanna when his aunt isn't? They should know him. Well, insightful question, definitely. Are they mean? We don't know. We're not 100% sure that they are mean, but just that they are so concerned that their son is. That their son isn't talking as much as the other kids do. But really, what a fantastic book to invert our notions of ability and disability. David Williams, it's such a delight you've joined us all the way from Australia. I'm so glad to see you here. Hi, and you say on disability, I like historic figures like President Roosevelt, wheelchair bound from polio, Ludwig van Beethoven, who progressively went deaf. And I have to say, I visited his house in Bonn in Germany. Our guest today, Vikram Agnihotri, who's just coming into the studio, studied in a school in Bonn. I mean, who would have even thunk that, these things can happen? But I did have the pleasure of going to Beethoven's house there. And, there was this fabulous sort of, like a little musical instrument that you had to strain to listen to because they wanted to recreate that experience of Beethoven's hearing getting progressively diminished. Stephen Hawking, with muscular dystrophy, who achieved world fame in their fields as if their disability forced them to focus better on their aims because it limited their lives. Same way they say that if you lose one sense, the others become more sharpened. There could be no one who, who epitomizes this much better in recent times than our guest who's going to join us in another 5 minutes, Vikram Agnihotri. And David, I know what a great lover of cars you are. Vikram Agnihotri, India's first double amputee, but driving a race car, I mean, with so many podium finishes in these race car rallies. I mean, you have to hear it from him. It's really true. It's just remarkable how they channelize their abilities. Preeti Ramchandran, what a pleasure. You say it's great to hear your energetic voice after a long time. What an apt topic. As you rightly said, the sooner we introduce diversity and inclusion to the young ones, the better the world becomes. Sum of all our abilities is much greater than any disability. Absolutely. So very well said. I'm just going to quickly run through the last one or two books because Vikram's here and I think he's going to be doing a lot more of the talking than me. And I can see Archana making a comment. You say, yes, Vidya, Kannapana was about an ability he had to see, quote unquote, whether it was light or not, while we, the sighted, can only see when there's light. So his abilities are that much more sharper than all of ours. Like I said, a wonderful book that upturns the notion of disability and ability so beautifully for readers, young and old. I'm going to, recommend two more books before we close and, say hello to Vikram. The new one that came into our collection, Read, Write, Race by Aarti Sonthalia, who's done those really popular Hungry to Read and Hungry to Play books that were hugely popular, has this one written in exactly the same jolly, funny vein about a little boy called Raghav. And all of Aarti's books, the ones that we've read so far, they're all set in a school. And Raghav, again in a school, he's 10 years old, but he struggles to read and write. It's not like he can't do everything that the other kids do, but he really does struggle to read and write. And what happens? A couple of classmates think he's dumb. Many of them think he's lazy. Sometimes the teachers are blaming him for being too lazy. But, as readers, we know Raghav struggles to read and write because he has dyslexia. What a fantastic book it is. And we know so many brilliant dyslexic children in our midst. But what does Raghav do? He gets into grade 5. Does the dyslexia come in his way? Well, I'm not going to give away the ending on that one. You have to read this wonderful, really cheerful book by Aarti Sonthalia. beautifully illustrated by Priya Kurian, to find out what happens to Raghav as he gets into grade 5. Can he achieve his dreams? One last book that I want to recommend, although I did have Zainab Suleiman's Simply Nanju, but we have recommended it earlier several times in the bazaar. One for the young adults, because we've just had a whole bunch of picture books that we recommended today. There's this one by Nandika Nambi called Unbroken, which is just a marvelous read for children that are 12 plus and adults of all ages and all abilities. Now, what of Unbroken? The reason that the book, I think it's one of those books, the protagonist of the book is a young girl. She's probably 16 or 17 when the story begins. And she is in an accident with her father. They're out going somewhere on a scooter, and the scooter meets, with an accident, and she is crippled thanks to that accident. Now, what happens to the protagonist of the book? What I love about young Nandika Nambi, I think she was just 22 or 23 when she, 22 possibly, when she wrote the book, a medical student herself. The thing about the book is the protagonist is so angry. The protagonist gets so angry. The first part of it's all about, why the heck did this happen to me? I mean, of all people, I'm at the cusp of life. There's a relationship in the offing. I'm going to be going to, professional college, and I lose my legs. What the heck? That anger is so palpable. It's so genuine. You feel it as the reader. You're like, oh my God, really? Like, you would feel that yourself. And she's like, I'm just going to be the meanest person under the sun. We rarely get books that express that emotion. We just feel we've got to be goody two shoes always. We can't. Why not? I mean, people who meet with these circumstances too have feelings, they have emotions, and they all need to kind of be expressed. And I just love the way that this author has expressed it. But fortunately, life always, has silver linings. And does the protagonist of the book discover a silver lining? Well, you just have to read this fantastic book to find out. And Sunila Kulkarni, what champ audiences we have watching us at the bazaar. You're saying Unbroken, it's the best ever. I just loved it. The emotions are so real, not glossed over at all, and it's so true. Champion audiences that have read all these books that we are recommending. It's just wonderful how many of you continue to support us like this. It's been 3 years of the bazaar, almost 2.5 years, or maybe 3 years of the bazaar possibly, and you guys are all still watching. I can't tell you, Team Funky Rainbow, Sham, Mutama, and me, perennially thankful for this wonderful support that you give us. But with that, enough of my yammering, and let me, quickly introduce to you our guest of the day. Netra, can I just have a copy of that one? To introduce to you our guest, who's going to be joining us just in a bit. We were, of course, first introduced to him via his excellent book, graphic narrative book, Look Ma, No Hands. Starting from the title, it's absolutely clear what the protagonist of the book is going through or has gone through. Vikram Agnihotri, ladies and gentlemen, let's all put our hands together.
Thank
Can
you.
I?
Thank you.
Is this convenient?
Yeah, this is great.
Is all right?
Yeah,
all right.
perfect. Thank you so much. I mean,
Lovely to see you here after a most enthusiastic, session, many sessions with you at Stonehill
no, thank you so
International
much.
School yesterday.
Thank you so much for having me here. And yes, yesterday was amazing. I mean, I had really it was an experience of a lifetime, just being with the children and just playing football and just
Yes,
running around.
Vikram's partner Prachi and me were gobsmacked because we were like, Vikram's playing football, he was just, and he was like, talking to the kids when they were sort of doing this station. Nah, I don't like Verstappen so much. I'm a big fan of Senna. I like somebody else. And the kids were like, whoa, is this man for real? Really, right? So you guys will find out. I'm just going to quickly introduce Vikram Agnihotri to all of you, a formal introduction, but then we'll chat about his book and his life. Now, Vikram encountered the most challenging experience of his life when he was just 7. He met with an electrical accident that led to the amputation of both his upper limbs. But that's not the focal point of the story. What happens the rest of his life? It's been a life of fortitude, a life of the kind of spirit that we rarely see around us, and that every single one of us who takes everything for granted needs to know how much of that spirit is needed to buoy yourself up, in life. I mean, he had fantastic support from his family, and, went to a mainstream school, went to a college. He's done a master's in economics. He's done his LLB. And yesterday we found out for the first time at school that he's doing his PhD. Guys, let's just get our act together and do a lot more with our lives, really, isn't it? Like, right?
Thank you so much.
But one of his most outstanding achievements, and Vikram, like any one of us, had big dreams, and one of those dreams was to be a race car driver. Did this accident set him back? Ladies and gentlemen, you can see him. There's nothing that can set Vikram Agnihotri back. And when Sham designed the poster and he put the words "racing ahead with Vikram Agnihotri," I was like, you've got the perfect words, because that's exactly what we were doing at school yesterday. He was just marching off onto the next session, and we were like heaving and puffing and panting and running with our books to the sessions that he was doing with the children. So he had this dream. He wanted to be a race car driver. What did he do to facilitate that? I'm not going to say it, because you absolutely have to hear it from Vikram's mouth as we chat with him this morning. With a man with a wide range of interests. He said if the school had a skateboard, he would
Yes.
skateboard into class. he played football with the kids. He loves to aero model. And while we were driving on a road very fast, because we had to reach school and Vikram was not driving,
Yes.
but if we had let him, I think he would have.
I would have loved to. I would have loved to. I think driving gives me so much pleasure. A lot of things that I do, like whether it was skateboarding or football, I just get so much pleasure out of it. So
It's evident. As we were sort of racing, he said, well, I love aero modeling, and this is what I used to do, and I've had a couple of crashes. And I'm like, is this man like, man, I really feel awful. What are my life experiences and what are Vikram Agnihotri's life experiences? But once again, really, people look, ma, no hands. We have autographed copies of these books at Funky Rainbow. It's a story of triumph. It's a story of resilience. It's a graphic narrative, and can be read by young, not so young, all age groups. A wonderful story of hope, despite the most despairing times. So I'm going to start off with my questions for you, Vikram. If you want me to stop or slow down, please just
no, please go
ask.
ahead.
And
I'll try to keep up.
Superman is saying he's going to try and keep up. No way. I have to keep up. Chatterbox is speed. The speed is really high, like, right? But
Yes, I think yes.
so yesterday I was looking at some of Stephen Hawking's, because I
Yes.
was going to be interviewing him, and this quote: "Disability need not be an obstacle to success." Stephen Hawking wrote this in the first ever disability report that was compiled in 2011. And I thought, man, here's a man who's a proof of exactly that truth. Tell us your backstory. I mean, I have given the audience an idea of what happened, but please
Well,
tell them your backstory.
yes, actually, like the book depicts, firstly, I give all the credit to my family, especially my mother. So I remember my mother would always say to me that disability is a state of mind. So it has nothing to do with hands or legs. It's actually your thoughts and what you think that matters. So if you don't feel that you are handicapped or disabled, then it's just a minor inconvenience, I would like to call it. It's just something that you just need to get used to. So when I met with the accident at the age of 7, prior to that, of course, I was able-bodied like a normal child, going about doing all the stuff that kids were doing. So literally overnight, when I met with this electrical accident, I came in contact with 11,000 volts of current, and in the process, both my hands were completely charred. They were completely burnt, and subsequently, they had to be amputated. But I'd like to believe that was not the end, but the beginning,
Wow.
because I think the turn that life has taken, I wouldn't change a single moment. I think it's been the best journey ever. I mean, seriously, I don't think without, see, I believe this challenge was what has made me what I am. So without it, I would have actually had a pretty mundane sort of a life. That's what I feel personally.
I mean, I just have
So,
to,
so
you know.
I am, I mean, it sounds weird, but I'm in gratitude, I would say, to the accident, because seriously, it's been a most wonderful journey so far.
Evidently it's absolutely, I mean, we can only like, I don't know anybody who's going to say, I mean, you have a cut in your hand and you're like, oh gosh, my god, like, right, I don't think I can grin and bear it. But you're saying you're even, you have so much gratitude for what
I mean
happened,
that.
and it's made you the person
It
that you
is. It
are
is. I
today,
believe
really.
challenges are necessary. I think in life, they come to actually make us better and actually realize things about ourselves that we were not maybe familiar with.
Ah.
So I think one must accept and face challenges. I mean, or create them if they aren't there. So
Wow. I'm just going to, read out some comments as we chat. Sunila Kulkarni, she's a writer. She's done some wonderful books for young readers. She says, I'm so thrilled to see you, Vikram. I was just so looking forward to hearing you, and you sound like so much fun.
thank you.
See?
Thank you, Sunita ji. Thank you so much.
And Book Pickle, that's also a huge supporter of Funky Rainbow, and doing a lot of work with children and books. Says she's simply just amazed by what you
Thank you
are
so much.
saying.
I believe in enjoying whatever I do. So the idea is to have fun.
It is, and it just absolutely comes right through. The rest of your life after that, terrible accident, and then the losing your hands, being amputated, it is all about moving on. You,
Definitely.
with the
Coming
great
to terms.
fortitude, with great cheer, with great spirit, I mean, coming to terms so remarkably. And I know, in the book you have said so many times, I mean, of about family members
Yes.
playing a really big role in this journey, in keeping your optimism alive, and especially your mother.
Yes.
She, I think, played a vital role in building that positivity and resilience in you. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it? Is there one particular episode, or anything, just anything that you would like
No,
to share with
actually,
us?
I like my mother was truly my friend, philosopher, guide.
Mhm.
That's what I'd like to say. That she was always there for me, even till latter years of our lives. I mean, we were best of friends. We had similar
Lovely.
taste in food and so many things. So we were the best of friends, actually. And unfortunately, I lost her in 2019.
Oh, I'm so
It was a
sorry.
sudden, it was a tragic moment for us, and that was pretty much, I think, also when the thought of the book came up, because I wanted to somehow, I was missing her a lot, of course, and I needed to find a way of expressing my, I mean, again, you can't repay the debt. It's not, firstly, it's not a debt. I don't think a mother loves a child as a, it's unconditional.
There's no
So
hisab
no
kitab at
hisab
all.
kitab,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think, I was looking for some way of filling that void, sort of. So that's when I thought of, maybe writing something down. And the most critical period of my life was, of course, when I met with the accident and post accident.
Hmm.
And that's where I think her role was most, I would say, critical. And I, that's why I thought, I should depict that in this book. And of course, this book is dedicated to her.
Hmm.
And, because as they say, well begun is half done. So I
Yes,
suppose,
absolutely.
when in those 6 months, the kind of, I would say, support, counseling, I mean, the kind of, motivation I was given by my mother, that is what has actually kicked off the journey. My rehabilitation, let's put it that way, that it was the beginning of my, not in terms of just prosthesis, but like my
Hmm. Yeah,
psychological and,
mental.
yes, mental sort of rehabilitation. And again, her role was, of course, very critical, but at the same time, my father, my elder brother, my teachers, my friends, I think a lot of people have played a very, I would say, pivotal role in my life.
Hmm.
Because firstly, I was naturally, you lose a lot of confidence when you meet with an
Absolutely.
accident like that. Your confidence is totally shattered. You're in uncharted waters. You don't have a clue, how
Abs-
life is going to pan out. But then, in the sense, gradually, day by day, things improved for me. I mean, in the sense, my parents uh, had very simple plans, not nothing ambitious, just
Mhm.
getting through each day, and just enjoying the moment, not making a heavy weather out of it.
Wow.
Because I remember I've never seen my parents cry or get very emotional in front of me. I knew that they must have cried several times, but not in front of me, because I think they didn't want that to impact me psychologically, and it didn't. So the atmosphere in the house was so normal.
That's right. I
Yes,
mean,
it was as if nothing had happened.
absolutely. I mean, he had, while we were driving to school, he had this fantastic story. He's like, my mom, she was too cool. She'd say, my son needs a dentist appointment and take them to Juhu Beach. I'm like, people, just learn, that's
Yes,
the.
every time my father would be out of town, she'll just send an application to school, a fake one, and then say that they need medical treatment or dental, and then we'll just go and just pick up shells from the beach and just loiter around. I mean, so yeah, we have such fond memories of that. And of course, one moment, like there were several, but I remember very vividly when we used to live in a society, and I would sit in the balcony and watch kids playing.
Yes, and there's a
Because
picture there.
see, you have to remember that for a child who's 7 years old, all he wants to do is play and have fun. I mean, I don't think he's concerned about a lot of other things.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I used to obviously reminisce. I mean, I used to miss playing,
Hmm.
and my mother could actually tell. I mean, she could see that something is brewing, something is like going through my head, and she would like ask. She asked me like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Look, I mean, everybody's playing, and I somehow, I'm missing out, and I don't get to play." So she's like, "What's stopping you?" So I said, "Look, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure whether firstly they will accept me, or I mean, I don't think they would have made fun of me. I don't think people are that mean.
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
contrary to what people think, I don't think human beings are that mean and rude. But again, you never know with kids. With kids, anything is possible." So she said, "So what's stopping you?" So I said, "Look, I mean, I just said, like, So she said, "Well, you won't know till you try. You just have to go there. Just introduce yourself. Just tell them that you want to play
Mhm.
and take it from there." So I said, "Okay, fine." So she literally pushed me out of the door, out of the
Ah,
house, like, "Go play." And I'm sure she was concerned. I mean, because, but then she never showed it.
never projected it
Yes,
to you.
I don't think she ever got angry or anything. The mistake sometimes people make is they get overprotective,
Mhm.
and that's what I think creates the complex. Then, if
Mhm.
you are locked in the house and you're not allowed to go and play like other kids, that's when I think that thought comes into your mind that something is wrong with you,
Yeah.
or you're not capable, or so. Anyhow, so I went, and again, as she had suggested, that I was like, they all, I don't think they even, like, thought for a moment, and they're
That you.
like, "You're most welcome," because they had seen me around probably. I
Mhm.
think the conversation must have taken place, at home, in their homes and with their parents, and they must have been kind of counseled how to how to behave with me. So we hit it off immediately, and we were playing football. I learned skating.
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
yes. So,
That's
but then again, had it not been for her, like, literally pushing me to go and like interact, I don't think I would have done that.
yeah.
So there were several such moments in my
That's
life.
just,
Yes.
it's just remarkable, really. Archana Atri, she runs a lovely book club, called AA's Book Nerds. Archana Atri's Book Nerds, and they read books with so much meaning and so much care. She facilitates it, and she says, when I read the title of the book, I love the wordplay there, right? Lukma, no hands, really, right?
It's a
And
sort of a, I like to call it like a celebration of not having hands, because
yeah.
many times, sometimes, you can overhear conversations or people pointing fingers and saying, oh, look, there's a guy without hands. So somewhere in the mind, that thing is there that you don't have hands.
Right.
And then you, of course, get used to it. I mean, then you become like, people start recognizing you as like, okay, oh, the guy without hands. So why not? Like, so I'm proud of the fact, like, look, ma, no
Yeah,
hands.
it really has a certain, like, look, ma, I won the medal. Look, ma, no
Exactly.
hands. Like, right? Preeti Ramchandran, who joins us from Madras, saying, Vikram, thank you so much for sharing your journey. Truly inspiring, says my 8-year-old who's watching. I said, there are nerdy bachas in our lives. Thank God. Like, right? An impactful takeaway for us parents. Take it a day at a time. Enjoy your kids' childhood and just create those fun moments, is what
Very
she
true.
says.
Very true.
And Archana saying, and as I'm listening to you, Mr. Agnihotri, as I listen to you talk, I get where that ease and comfort is coming from. So really, that thing that you said, I mean, you skateboard, you
Yeah,
play football, you swim, but really, one thing that I have thought in my very limited capacity of understanding these things is that you may not have wanted to become a race car driver, really, right? Tell us, our
oh
viewers,
yes,
how did you, get into race car driving, and what you did to facilitate that,
sure.
which has changed the lives of many others.
Yes. Like I said, the childhood dream was, I was fascinated by fast cars and of course, like Michael Schumacher or Senna, and of course, all these childhood idols. So, and somewhere I think I felt that maybe I will never get a chance to do it. So,
Hmm.
somewhere in my, heart of hearts, I kind of felt that, okay, this is something that I might not get a chance. But at the same time, as you grow older, I suppose, things start becoming a little easier. Now you have cars which are automatic, so they
Hmm.
don't have a clutch, which leaves one foot idle. In case of regular people, in my case, I'm sorry, I call regular and maybe not,
Yeah.
not regular way, whatever. But then, so I realized that, okay, now it's feasible. I've been watching people drive, and I'm a very keen observer. At the same time, I pick up things, I mean, by watching others.
Mhm.
And so I got this confidence that, okay, maybe I can try again. One of those things that I'll try, maybe I succeed, maybe I fail, but I wouldn't know till I try. And of course, a driving license is a must if you want to get
Of
into
course.
motorsports. You need to have a civilian driving license if you want to get into motorsports. So it was like necessary. So if you have a dream, you need to work towards it. It can't just happen on its own.
Mm.
So that was like the first step, that I needed a driving license. So driving part, I would say, was still the easier part for me, because I was as it is doing things with my feet, whether it's brushing or shaving or putting on my clothes or writing, or I mean, I pretty much do everything with my foot. So driving, I felt, was something that I could pick up quite easily. But of course, getting the driving license was a bigger challenge, because nobody in India had got one. I mean, I don't know whether people even tried.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, in India, people sometimes don't even try. They feel that it's not going to happen. But uh, but again, I had the advantage that I was actually doing my law during the same time, so I
Right.
was getting used to reading enactments and laws. So I read the Motor Vehicle Act, and I found that there was no disqualification for
Right.
people, like, people with disability were not disqualified from getting a license. Only thing that you had to there was a definition that under the IVC category, there's an invalid carriage category,
Mhm,
which has
mhm,
a certain norms that you need to fulfill, and then you would be given a license. So only a driving test was the criteria.
mhm.
Whether you had hands or whether you're driving with your legs, that was never considered in the act. Any act needs to be dynamic. It can't be static. It cannot, so with times things have to change. So
Absolutely.
when I realized that the act has left this as a gray area, I would call it a gray area, or like left it to interpretation. But unfortunately, when it comes to interpretation, people prefer to interpret it negatively than positively.
Mm.
But anyway, I was very confident that if I could drive, then there's no reason that I shouldn't get a license.
License, yeah.
So I had that faith, confidence, you can say. So I picked up a car. I bought my first car in 2015. It was a Maruti Celerio automatic.
Mhm.
And again, the confidence my parents had in me is that only driven maybe just twice before that, just like a trial. But
Really?
I drove the car out of the showroom because they went and sat in the passenger seat. I had no choice but to sit in the driver's seat
And drive well.
and drive. And that showroom was so cramped. I had to get the car out, come onto the main street, and then drive. But
Wow.
again, I like people putting faith in me. I want that. I like that pressure.
So
I
lovely.
feel that if we don't expect things from people, that actually puts them off the hook, and then they don't have to respond, I mean, react. I mean, I that's what I feel,
Mm.
that I can't let people down. If you put your faith in me, I will
I
try
have
my
to
best
deliver.
and mostly succeed also. So I started driving, and within, I think, hardly 15-20 days of driving, I found myself driving very well. I mean, touch wood. I mean, I'm sorry I say that on myself,
You
but
sorry, you have, I mean, we are sorry that we didn't,
so that's when, then of course, we approached the authorities now, for because initially you have to apply for a learner's license.
Right,
Now the concept behind a learner's license again is that you don't know how to drive.
right.
It's only once you get the learners you will learn to drive. So everyone should get a learner's license. There's no reason for them to say no, but unfortunately, people in our country and maybe all over the world, judge a book by its cover. So, and I face that all the time. People see a man without hands and immediately jump to conclusions. They start thinking that, I need help, or maybe and pity, and those are the first things that come into our mind. And then gradually, then it's like, okay, this guy can't do anything, he's useless.
Oh
Like,
gosh.
and I think I'm the contrary to that. That's the best part. I love shocking people. I guess
Yes,
that is what
clearly.
I like to prove them wrong. So again, in a nice way. I
Of
mean, in
course.
a nice way. I mean, I like to. So I requested him, and I tried to convince. I told him, like, you can go for a drive with me even now.
Hmm.
So after a bit of persuasion, a bit of pressure, finally he did issue a learner's license.
Fantastic.
But then again, we hit some hurdles, some problems that took place that initiated that Motor Vehicle Act amendment also.
Hmm.
So those things then cropped up, and so it took me 15 months, but finally after 15 months the license was issued. And like I
Wow.
said, I became the first Indian to get a license, certified by Limca Book of Records also.
Oh.
And that of course opened the door for me to then finally get into what was my dream, or what I was actually working towards. Uh, so and as I don't know, call it by chance or coincidence, I got an opportunity to participate in my first rally within hardly 2-3 months of getting the license.
Wow.
And remember, I had never driven till the age of 45, and I'd never competed in a TSD rally.
Right.
I had no idea what I'm getting myself into, or like getting the car into. But
But
again, when
that's
I was
every
invited,
day's work for you, like, right? Yeah, sure.
no,
Let
but
me
I
just
guess that is what intrigues me. I love the fear of the unknown kind. Not fear. I just love the
challenge.
challenge, not knowing what is going to happen next. So it's like reading a thriller book or something. So I agreed to participate, and again, call it a pleasant coincidence. I came first in the amateur category
Wow.
in my first attempt, first rally. I come first, and as you rightly said, I've done 7 events and I have 5 podium finishes. So that's
I mean, 5 podium
and I
finishes,
just like to make a
really.
mention here what you rightly said. My struggle for the actually driver's license inspired a lot of people,
That's right.
and a lot of people who were struggling, a lot of people who had given up hope, I suppose, of getting a license. So when the license was issued to me, and in fact, I think that is the reason why I was, you can say, fighting for it, because I knew that I wasn't doing it just for myself. It was for the entire community, for all those people who were denied maybe a
Hmm.
driving license on some frivolous,
Grounds, yeah.
yeah, ground. So that gave me a lot of courage also. It's like when you dream also, I think it should be very inclusive and not exclusive.
Hmm.
Or when you're fighting, if you're fighting for a larger sort of good, it gives you a lot of courage.
Courage.
So since getting the license, I've been instrumental. I don't like to say I've helped them in the sense, and I've guided them. And 16 people have been given licenses
Oh,
all over the
wow.
country,
Wow.
and there are still many who are in the pipeline who are uh, hopeful, and I'm very hopeful that eventually they will get their licenses too. That's what I tell them: don't give up, and just keep
Keep at it.
keep at it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just terrific. I mean, one of the things that you absolutely said, and I want to say it again to this look at him, he was doing his LLB, and it was those books that said there
Yes.
is no clause that says that somebody without hands cannot get a license.
True.
One moral of the story there, if at all you need to take away, and especially for Funky Rainbow, hit the books, folks. Pata nahi, zindagi badal jata hai. Your life just changes that way. I
So
mean,
true.
I can see Arun Ji, he's a librarian in Hyderabad. He's saying it's so good to hear your inspiring story. Book Pickle saying that your narrative is so thrilling indeed. And Arun saying, wonderful, congratulations to you and FR for this motivating story. Several people just sending out several claps. Although Arun has a question, and before I go into the couple of hours, he says, challenging rules is frustrating. How do you keep motivating yourself to do it? I mean, in a sense, of course, you've responded, but you can, say
Sure.
to him how you keep doing it.
Well, when it comes to, yeah, I mean, we all need motivation.
Would you like some water? Can I bring? If
I'll
you,
have some water.
will
Yes,
you just put it? I'll give.
glass.
We have a
So,
mug. We have a mug.
so
Yeah.
I guess as I said, even I sometimes feel a little frustrated. But at the same time, as you rightly said, because like I'd read the Motor Vehicle Act, I was very confident that sooner or later I will get my license. Similarly, I think one needs to be hopeful, and one must have that confidence, like that yes, eventually things will work out. And I'm somebody who always like I like to uh, I don't put all my eggs in one basket.
Mm-hmm.
I have several things that I'm working on at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
all sort of like this book was like something that was in the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the license was also happening, so there's several things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Can I
No, I'll,
just
I'll
use
manage.
your able?
Yeah, I'll
Okay. Okay.
manage.
Fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Fine. Thank you.
So I suppose, I guess it's all about like what your focus is on. I always like to keep working on things which keep me sort of which give me pleasure, or which I feel maybe uh, are for the greater good also. I mean, it's not just something, because see, I've pretty much been there, done that. I've been a businessman, I've been an industrialist, I've done a lot of commercial activities since the age of 23. But at the same time, I somehow never felt that satisfaction. I never felt like I was actually making a difference. I was actually, so after 2009, I've kind of shifted my focus to a different field altogether. Now I'm more in the field of disability,
Mm-hmm.
seem to be part of a lot of committees, and I have my
Oh,
own
it's
foundation.
wonderful.
So as soon as you focus your attention changes to more positive things rather than just making money, I think you automatically get motivated.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's the cause.
yeah.
It's what
Yeah.
you're working on that determines how motivated and how satisfying it could be.
Absolutely. So well said. Actually, in a recent survey, and I was just reading this last evening, an opinion that was expressed was that disabled people aren't as productive as others. This was just
Uh-huh.
a survey undertaken by some national magazine. And
Just let me use my foot to just have some water.
sure.
Sorry.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can go
Just
ahead.
can I continue to
No,
ask you the
yeah.
question? I mean, in the same survey, a quarter of the disabled people said that people expected far lesser of them. And I think, frankly, it is these sort of attitudes
Yeah.
that are far more debilitating than
Yes.
any mental or physical disability, right? And it's this attitude that creates barriers, for people all over the world. I mean, what do you think people without disability can learn from the people who have it to make our world more inclusive and
I'm
more
glad that you asked
diverse?
this question, because I think the most devastating thing that you can do to a, say, person with disability is give him sympathy and pity, and feel sorry for them. Because what it does is that it has a negative effect on the person with disability, because he starts expecting things, in the sense he thinks that there's something wrong, and in the sense they become dependent.
Mm.
Instead of empowering them, instead of encouraging them, and instead of telling them that why can't you do this, because that is what I benefited from.
Mhm.
My friends, my teachers, my parents, they've always said like, why, I mean, I don't think I've said I can't do something, but at the same time they will always be like, why don't you do this, or why can't you, so it's all about I think the society needs to recognize that this segment is very, I would say, they can contribute in a very sort of
Productive.
economically
Yeah.
and in a very productive manner. And I don't think they need a lot of support, or it's not a lot that is needed. Just a little bit goes a long way.
Mhm.
I remember like Prachi, my friend, she was being interviewed for some counseling job, and the person interviewing felt like, asked like whether she'll be able to cope with it, with her physical challenge. And she said, look, counseling doesn't need hands or legs. It's all done by, you know so unfortunately people tend to again judge and base their decisions on just the appearance. And so it's more about, like, it goes for all of us, like, you need to find the right job for the right person.
Right.
So people with challenges or disabilities, it's not that I'm not suggesting they can do everything, but
No, but
we need to just find the suitable job for them. And I think the society needs to take that first step and create a very conducive environment,
absolutely.
a safe environment where people can actually come out.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, if you look at our infrastructure, it is non-existent.
Yeah,
We talk about accessibility, there is none.
there is
When
none.
I talk about driving for people like me, it's a necessity because we don't have an option.
Hmm.
The infrastructure isn't conducive. It's
Yeah,
in fact, we are I mean, even the able bodied are finding it difficult to
handle.
yes.
Yeah,
So I guess when it comes to the environment, I think we need to create a conducive environment where people feel safe, people can come out. And of course it is for the differently able people to also demand.
absolutely.
Unfortunately, people in our society feel very reluctant, or feel like, and they're used to being given things. So they start becoming more of like
Dependent on.
independent, sorry, dependent on, okay, whatever is being given, I'll just accept that. And
Yeah.
they lose their right or something, to demand things. So it's a two-way street, I guess, at the end of the day.
Hmm.
But I think the society still needs to take the first step.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can say that again. Really, that's what it is,
Yeah,
right? I
because I
mean,
don't think we need sympathy. I mean, we just want equality. It's like it's just to be treated as an equal.
hmm
I mean, I don't think there's any reason not to be.
hmm yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, these stereotypes, they just abound in anything and everything we do. I mean, even if they're reporting, let's say, a conflict zone or a war, like they'll say 212 people were killed, including women. I'm like, what about, I mean, all human beings, whoever died, died. I mean, it's just such a tragedy. What is this, including women? Is it special that they died? Or, like, what is that? I don't know why our narratives don't encompass
I
this
agree.
kind of equality.
Yes, it
But the good thing is, from the books that we were sort of recommending today, and books like yours, where
yes.
we really at least are slowly starting to
No, I think we
recognize
need to
these things.
instill this quality from a very young age.
Absolutely.
So, and that's why I think schools which focus on diversity, on inclusion, they're really going to make a big difference, because when those kids grow up, they will always keep that in mind. Like, they'll always remember a friend who needed,
Hmm.
some assistance. So if they're making a building, let's say, or so he'll create a ramp, and he'll make maybe an elevator or something like that.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
mean, so I think we should instill it at an
At the
early,
youngest.
yes. And of course, the administration again plays a very vital role. I
Hmm.
mean, there are norms, but unfortunately, they're not being implemented.
Yeah.
So there has to be a stricter sort of somehow guideline for all. Yes,
Implementation.
implementation. Yes,
That's right. Yeah, I mean, most of the people watching us on the show, they're like parents and teachers and librarians, some into children. One of the things that you stressed on so considerably in the course of all your interactions yesterday, not just by way of words, but actually demonstration, is that you said extracurricular
oh
activities
yes,
made a remarkable difference to your life, that it's much more than academics. It was the extracurriculars that have shaped your personality, helped you get through tough times. I mean, would you like to tell parents who are watching how and why?
yes. I think extracurricular activities. I call them purpose. Like, that really shaped my life, especially after my accident, because what was needed was not just like, I mean, I had to regain my confidence mentally, physically, in every aspect. And I don't think there's anything better than extracurricular activities to do that. Like, if you're playing some sport, or if you're indulging in any other like music, or any of these I would say activities, rather than just studying. So it does fortify or strengthen your even your mental resolve,
Absolutely.
because when you're playing, you will tend to lose sometimes, and you just have to accept that. It's like, and you come back with more vigor maybe next time.
Mhm.
So I guess it's not just physical strength, but also it builds a lot of mental
Mhm.
stamina, strength. You can take on more stress, and I think so. I personally urge young parents to allow kids to participate in extracurricular activities. Again, extracurricular activities doesn't mean sports only.
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
could be, as I said, learning music or maybe dancing, something that gives them pleasure, rather than just something that is forced upon them. They can
absolutely.
choose whichever activity they would like to, and not necessarily that you have to excel in that activity. It's okay. I mean, I've tried out so many things. And I've even played tennis. I've held the racket here. I played tennis. There was a point I was playing very good tennis, in fact.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't serve, but my volley and everything was great. I played cricket with season balls, and I would love fast bowling, because the faster they come, the
Trust
faster
you.
they go back. So that. So whenever I used to connect, so it's, but then naturally I've switched over to some other activities.
Mhm.
So extracurricular activities, even at a later stage, it's not something. It's like, it's like people say hobbies are for children. I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
we need it inside, and I think sometimes more when you're in your
Grown up.
yes,
Yeah.
when you're grown up, because you need ways to keep yourself motivated and happy. So extracurricular activities, definitely, I think, a must. I mean, apart from studies.
Hear that all over again. All parents absolutely listening in. But that was Vikram Agnihotri. I mean, one of the most inspiring, people that we've been in touch with. And yeah, I think I'll try my hand at race car driving now. But it's just a small challenge. I mean, you are you are the champ. It's been such a pleasure to host you here
The
today. I
pleasure's
mean,
all
we're
mine.
so thankful that you came, you spoke about, and people, his book, Look Ma, No Hands. We have autographed copies of the book. Lots of them at Funky Rainbow. We would love for you to go to our website. Of course, the website's down at the moment. We figured there's some malware attack, and I mean, it's just a small mountain to climb. We've learned that from Vikram Agnihotri. Even if we can't get through GoDaddy for the last 2 days, we are going to climb that mountain for sure. But you have our numbers. We are accessible on WhatsApp at 99004 95665. Do pick up this book. It is so good for your heart, it's so good for your soul. And it just makes you feel that we never need to say die, come what may. There's just, as I told Vikram, the resilience just permeates and sparkles through the pages, the positivity too. And you're going to get out of reading the book feeling on top of the world. I'd like for all of us to put our hands together for the wonderful
Man,
Vikram
thank
Agnihotri.
you so much for having me on Funky Rainbow, and it was lovely, I think, chatting and talking to you. And
Absolutely a pleasure. Thank you, Vikram.
thank you so
And
much.
we are wishing you a lot more books. I
Yes,
know that's.
yes, yes. Like, people go and buy the book now. It's like,
Yes. Sorry,
yeah.
I need to. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, all right. Muttama, thank God, gave me the correct cue, which I had completely forgotten. She said the first copy of the book was actually
Bought
bought
by,
by Nilofer.
yes, my TSD rally partner now, like,
TSD is
time, speed, and
time,
distance.
speed, and
And distance. She's
distance.
a maths teacher, and she's a rally enthusiast.
Yes.
So we've teamed up. So she's going to be my navigator. So, yes.
She was at the school that we went to yesterday, and she said, she's a math teacher. I'm like, wow, that is a giant obstacle to, to climb. But she picked up the first copy of the book, Look Ma, No Hands, and we're looking forward to that,
Yes.
collaboration between Nilofer and Vikram. I can see a lot of more comments coming up. I was riveted by so many points made by Mr. Agnihotri, so many things to talk about. Thank you, sir, for joining us on the show. Thank you so much, Mr. Agnihotri, says Sunila. A most inspiring and interesting session. Just loved and going to make other people listen to this as well. Thank you so much, Vidya, Team Funky Rainbow. Mr. Agnihotri is such an articulate speaker. Really, he really is. I mean, David Williams, who joins us from Australia, is saying, never say die. There are always the characters we admire, be they fictional or real. So here, you gave us a list of a lot of real world people. We're introducing one from India to you, David Williams. So you add him up to your list along with President Roosevelt and Stephen Hawking and Shiraz Seni. She's a storyteller, and she said, "May I share your story with class 9 and 10 kids in a session planned in the school? It's just so inspiring."
Yes, I think I feel very humbled, and yes, I mean, I'm just grateful. I mean, that's all I can say. That I'm so.
Arunji too saying, "I'll share your session with teachers to share with their students." Thank you so much, people, for this sort of fantastic support. I mean, we just, sort of sprung the bazaar on you without any warning because we had taken this long break, but you're all here, you're all watching, and you're all cheering us on the sidelines. But, all the cheers and all of the credit belongs to Vikram Agnihotri. So with that, we'll see you again next week. Is there somebody that I need to say hello? And so many more people who've joined us: Raghavendra, Navya, Sandeep, the Cake Studio Bangalore. Yes, we're waiting for those cakes. Preeti Ramachandran, Nitin Malik, Indu, Sujal Mehra, Mandira Shah. What a pleasure. I thought you were doing a session at Bangalore Literature Festival. Vikram's going to be there. She's written a lovely book set in Sikkim, in Manipur, set in the time of conflict. And the book's won an award recently. She's going to be doing a session at Bangalore Literature Festival.
I look forward to meeting her.
Yes, Mandira, you should walk up and say hello to Vikram. Molino Yoko, Archana Atri, Sunila Kulkarni Gupta, David Williams, Lakshmi Sunu, Preeti Ramchandran, Aishwarya Janardhan, Mamta Prasad, Life at an Indian Farm, and Narayan. Thank you, so many of you, for joining us today. We'll be back next week with another bazaar. But till then, keep that spirit really, really high up, because these are the models that we need to emulate. These are the role models in our lives. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Till then, keep reading and hit those books.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're